Looks like I'm live. Let's see. All right. Don't know how many of you are joining me today. It's been a while since I've done another stream. Probably been 6 months or more. Because it's been a very busy and exciting time. So if you're here and you're watching, I get updates a little bit slower. So please leave me a comment. YouTube has just messaged me and told me that I'm now live, so look out. And I have something I think really kind of fun and interesting today. So if you see me looking over here, I'm checking as usual my comments on the live stream, the chat, and then I have a screen that I'm going to share, slightly different setup than I had before. So we're gonna work with it. I'm ready. If you're here, say hello. Let me see if I can even see anything. Oh, getting echo. I can fix that. Let's see. Can you hear me now? Let's give me the audio input capture. Thanks, Greg. Ethan Hastings, hello. GMO Burrito, hello. Greg J, hello. Thank you. Are you still getting echo? Just showing echo still? Okay. Nothing at all. Oh man, that's definitely worse than two things. Greg, you said awesomely. Is the audio better? I'm slowly but surely getting better at this. I have like 7 different audio configurations to work from on OBS. All right, sound is fine now. Everybody's saying it's coming in good. All right. I have so many different audio configurations that I have to like choose the right dials, and it's getting to be too much. So just a quick update before I share what I'm actually working on and going to be sharing with all of you. If probably through Patreon, if you buy me like a coffee or a bag of coffee, so to speak, it's going to be like a little bonus. So a Hebrew Companion for the Duolingo course, and I'm going to get to that. First, I have my coffee. I hope wherever you are, you have something, you're comfortable. Stay hydrated, and it's been a really exciting time over here. I should be launching a new podcast with a colleague of mine, Mr. Christopher Hall. I know I've been teasing that for a while, but it's finally starting to come to fruition. We have a handful of conversations that we've already had and recorded. We just got to edit some things. We have shorts. We have 6-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute videos, and then we have 45-minute to hour-long conversations. They're all going to be going live soon. The process of launching a podcast, like a YouTube podcast, is a very different process than doing what I've been doing for Language Jones with scripting videos. So the audio, the cameras, all that stuff, that's fine. The conversations that we're having are a lot of fun, but making sure that we have our setup asynchronous. He's in a totally different part of the world, and making sure that we actually have our organization for the podcast is a little bit different. By the way, if you're hearing squeaking, oh my goodness, you can barely hear me. Let me try this again. Let's see. And I was afraid you're all going to hear the squeaking of my chair. Okay. Can you hear me now? Too quiet for everybody? Audio's at max. Let's do this. We're going to get it together. I'm on a slight delay, so I just saw another comment that came in and said that I'm too quiet, but I'm going to wait and see what you all say. And I'm just going to keep playing around with my settings until we get it together. Okay, está mejor. Got 1 vote for that. Better but still quiet? Okay. This says, let's do my advanced audio properties. Why not? Well, it says it's at 100%. Better, but only a tiny bit. This is ridiculous. Let me try this. How about now? No, that's desktop audio. That's terrible. Man, you guys, I'm going to get this together one of these days. Somebody said you just want another ASMR video. Let's see. Enable down mixing. How about now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure how much more I can I can push it. We're as high as it goes. Okay, let's see. Maybe I need to just talk louder. How about now? Let's see. This is so wild to me because it's really annoying. Microphone's plugged in. It's Rode. I'm going through audio input capture. Somebody's saying no difference. How slangy do you want my Hebrew to be? As slangy as possible, please. All right, somebody says todavía mejor. Shalom, everyone. Silly Cat Boy. It's good to see everybody again. See the usernames here again. All right, max out your volume because this is the best I can do right now, and no idea why. Because I can actually see that it's not. I see my microphone. I can see the audio. This might get a little crazy, but I can even share the screen, and you can see my audio. Woo. Maybe. And you can see when I talk, it's like it's maxing out here down at the bottom, right here. So I don't know. I have it all the way up. This is what I get for using OBS. Let me move it back to my main screen. And somebody said, I haven't actually practiced written Hebrew in a while. Kalimachus. I'm doing my best. I'm sorry. Anybody here, if you can max out your audio, thanks. I'll try to mix it in YouTube Studio after the fact. And I'm going to keep going for those of you who can hear me. I'm being told by Chaim Shali that I have to talk directly into the mic, and if I max the audio, it's too good. And I've missed like 25 texts to that effect. Oh no. Yeah, it's maxed out and it's nowhere near peaking. So I don't know. Like, hold please. Let me see. You know what? All right, we're gonna do this, and then I'm gonna actually get into this because I'm tired of having to do this with all of you. I'm going to go to my system settings, and I'm going to. I know how to fix this. And thank you all for your patience because this is super annoying. And every time I don't live stream for a while, it takes me a while to figure out the sound again. All right, I am going to my sound settings. I'm going to my input. I'm going to my. Can you hear me now? I'm going to blow somebody's ears out now. Okay, let's see. All right. Way too high. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This should be nice. Can you hear me now? I'll try to talk not too loud. Hopefully I didn't blow out somebody's ears. Too high now in exclamation marks. All right, we're getting there. All right, I can see the input level. I have dropped it on the system settings, so it's not going to blow out your ears. It's maxed out on OBS. And for some reason, okay, I think I got it good. I think this should be perfect. For some reason, the Apple OBS and Rode don't play nicely together, and I always forget that Apple system preferences will just drop the Rode microphone to 0, and OBS is just like, I don't know what's going on. And so it should be okay now. No ear damage, just heart startled. Okay. Yeah, we're going to start a GoFundMe for medical expenses incurred from watching a Language Jones live stream. Cowboy said it's bad again? All right. I can up it. Let's get this perfect. I'm not going to get it perfect for everybody because I know that's just not possible. But I am going to get it pretty okay. So let me up it a little bit, and then I'm actually going to just talk about what I want to talk about. System settings. Oh, here's ringing. Oh, no. Man, nobody tells you when they're like, hey, do a live stream. It'll be fun, they said. This should be a nice medium, and I'm going to stay here. Okay. And if this doesn't work, then I'll just live stream again later. I'll work it out. But as I was saying before, it's been a really, really busy time here, which means that I have not had a lot of time to just call a friend and be like, hey, hop on a private live stream and let me get my audio settings right. Silly Catboy says it's good again. Greg J says perfect. Skent Expat, Mighty Gregor says leave it there. So here you go. Bedankt voor de livestream. Zeer gewaardeerd. Yeah, okay, thanks. You can turn your volume off max now. All right. Here we go. It's been a busy time. Somebody said Pesach cleaning, how fun. That's not even remotely what I'm talking about. So if you were not keeping up with the other channels that I'm launching, they're still mostly in development, but we had to kind of do a slightly early launch because the consulting firm that I work with got listed on Doge.gov as having had a canceled $9,999,999 contract. And if I had nearly $10 million, shy one, I probably wouldn't be. I mean, maybe I'd live stream, but probably not. I wouldn't be selling like a little Duolingo Companion and all this stuff. I would be on the beach somewhere just enjoying my money that I'd immediately transferred to offshore accounts. None of that is real. None of that happened. But we got listed there, and then pursuant to that, attracted a lot of attention from people with, America in their usernames and Eagles and so on, sort of militia types and whatever else. So I've been talking with the NYPD. I've been talking with the FBI. I know our field office. I know the precinct. I know, it's been a whole thing. So, and the funny thing is, I don't know that we necessarily disagree as much as they think that we disagree, because what we teach and what you'll see when we launch these two new channels is leadership and performance. And the idea is that if you have inclusive leadership, and I know inclusion is sort of a banned word now, but if you have inclusive leadership, you can actually get the most out of the talent that you have. You can identify the best talent, recruit the best talent, retain the best talent, and actually perform at a very high level with a mission focus and a high level of standards. So we're all about standards, mission, all of that good stuff. But we got listed on Doge as being, a $10 million DEI contract, and I mean, I wish. I wish I had a $10 million contract. So it's been a time. It's been a really, really exciting time. He said legal eagles in the chat. I should reach out to, what's his name? The guy who does, is it Legal Eagle on YouTube? See if he'll just keep it in the YouTube ecosystem to see about representation there. I see somebody said Doge misrepresented things. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about that. I don't know the reason for the errors on our part. I know how it has directly affected us. And the main thing is, I think most people are probably in favor of efficiency and effectiveness and standards and mission. And we just got kind of swept up in something where there was a mistake there. And what's funny is it was clearly a placeholder number. If you've ever done statistics or used Excel or whatever else, just nines across the board is that's a missing value. That's NA. But the purported contract was not a contract, was never signed and countersigned. It's just there's no there. So it's been a very exciting time. It's been a very busy time. But I've also been working on something. And for those of you who are studying Hebrew the way that I am, I have something that I think you're going to like. Zevel, you said, what have I missed in the last 15 minutes? And everyone will confirm what you missed is me just dicking around with audio settings. You missed absolutely zero content, and everything was me like, is it louder now? Can you hear me? So you're doing great. I see in the chat comments about speculation about what public figures are doing and what Doge is. I don't have an official comment or thought on that. Just because that's that's not really what we do. But what I will say is we are launching these two new things. There's going to be podcasts, there's going to be videos, there's going to be shorts. It's been a lot to build. We had to launch it a little bit early just to address some of the Doge stuff. So if you did subscribe, thank you for that. We will have more content soon. I understand if you subscribed and then there's just nothing, you're like, what was that? It's coming. We have a lot of conversations sort of being edited right now that are on deck and going to be a lot of fun. And I think we're filming another tomorrow and the next day, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I also have been doing a cool thing with the NYPD, which I can talk about a little bit later, but got to do some like use of force scenarios and stuff. Very fun. Very cool stuff, counterterrorism, all sorts of cool things. So it's been a very interesting but very busy time. What are the names of the channels? You're asking the good questions here. Let's see, C Lab, which is Culture Lab, but it's also Culture Like a Boss, and the Culture Point Effect. So both are from the company Culture Point, and that's going to be slightly different than Language Jones stuff. We still like. It's me and a good friend and colleague who has a really good sense of humor. And we're approaching everything from looking at culture, communication, conflict, how culture and communication interact to create conflict in the workplace and in life, and what we can do about that conflict, how we can recognize it, get out ahead of it, how we can better understand culture. So historically, we did teach for a lot of government clients up until very recently, inclusive leadership, high performance, cross-cultural communication, understanding unconscious bias and how to get ahead of that, and do all this sort of excellent leadership where you have high standards, mission focus, all these good things. Of course, unconscious bias, inclusion, culture. I think a lot of those are. If not, they're not outright banned, but they'll get stuff flagged now with clients, with contracts, with federal contracts. So we are making a pivot to digital media and to being able to talk to people directly, because a lot of our clients said this is the best training that we've ever had, and we wish that this was available to us outside of it being, contracted with the government, and like you show up for a mandatory training or a voluntary training or whatever that the command has organized, or that the unit has organized, or that if it's not, the military, that the organization or the department or whatever has organized. So we're trying to do that. We're launching a cultural assessment tool, which is fantastic. It's a cultural communication assessment tool where you can learn what your individual preferences are as far as like assumed styles for communication and for conflict. And then if you do it with a group, you can actually see what the group norms are and if there's outliers. And it's a lot of cool stuff. It's something that we've been building for years and really excited to launch. But I am going to get to talking about Duolingo and Hebrew, because I have something that I think you'll like. I have some questions for you all because I could use your help, and we'll kind of get into this. So I see Duo does have an Argue About Politics unit. I love that, because the other languages, they don't have words in their politics units like house arrest and corruption. So this is like, it's a lot of fun. Basically, I've been using Duolingo for Hebrew. Some of you know that I used the colloquial textbook from Routledge, and I was not a fan. It's okay. The second edition has like a tremendous number of errors, but I have been taking notes. What I was doing as I was going through it is I was just writing everything by hand, so I can show you, just handwriting, transliteration, writing it in Hebrew, writing it in English, like just all sorts of work. I've been color coding things, so you can see this. And I thought, this is okay. It's not the best. It's okay. I also have been using various Anki decks that exist, so people have vocabulary, people are saying the words, you can kind of work through that. I've been adding images to mine. I've been trying to add mnemonics, and that helps. It's okay. They're not sponsoring this video, but I occasionally, when I have a chance, use italki, and like talking to people helps kind of activate that stuff. But basically what I've been finding is like, it's really hard. And I think the resources that are out there are not great for beginners. I think that there's some stuff that I've figured out because I have a PhD in linguistics and I have studied Semitic languages in that context, but it's really not great. So I was thinking, man, it'd be really cool if there was a companion to Duolingo that had all the vocabulary. And it turns out there is. I mean, that exists. There's the Duolingo wiki fandom, has all the vocab for every lesson, and it had grammatical instruction that was good. That one doesn't have grammatical instruction that's good, and maybe some example sentences, and just like keep it simple, but something like that. Maybe where you can find other information. And so what I did is, I missed a. Zevel, thanks for signing in. I see there's a couple messages deleted. I'm going to trust you to keep deleting whenever whenever necessary, because this could get spicy. So anyway, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if something like that existed? And then I thought, well, be the change that you want to see in the world. So allow me to present to you. I'm going to be working on this a little bit while we talk because it's not done yet, but it's mostly done. Version 0 is mostly done. And so what I'm doing is the unofficial Ultimate Hebrew Duolingo Companion. Now, couple of caveats here. One, everything that is in this is from either the wiki or is open source. It talks about the vocabulary in the Duolingo course. It is not a replacement for the Duolingo course. If you are studying, I really actually do think that the Duolingo course is one of the best things that's out there for Hebrew. This may be faint praise given how little there is that's out there that's good, but I think it's really one of the best things. The audio is great, the sentence is great, the course organization is actually great, with some exceptions about like how many verbs they dump on you in a lesson. So I encourage everybody, if you're going to use this, it cannot replace actually using Duolingo. I do not want to sell a product that in any way challenges Duolingo. So what I'm doing is, if you want to like buy me a bag of beans for coffee, so I can continue to make things like this, I will share this as a digital product, probably on my Patreon. But I'll put a link to that in the description once it's done. I'm going to ask you all what else you'd like to see in it. But the idea is that it's, as I put here, a compilation of lesson materials, vocabulary, and grammar matched to the Duolingo course with example sentences from Duolingo and elsewhere, mostly Reverso context, built on the contents of the fandom wiki and annotated, elaborated, and elucidated by a professional linguist. And it's a little tongue-in-cheek because I love those titles that are like super long subtitles. So let's see. What do I think of Mondly? I have not yet looked at them very much. I checked them out for Farsi recently because they offered to, they asked if I was interested in sponsorship. And nothing has happened with that yet. But yeah, I see lots of discussion of politics. Paget has all the Duolingo tips. Yeah, one of the things that got me about this is when I first started with Hebrew Duolingo, there was comments. There was the comment section. And every time, every sentence, especially if there wasn't audio, you could click on the comments and somebody, bless them, the top comment was always a transliteration. And I thought it was incredibly helpful. So it's little things. Let's see. Are you completely through with the Duolingo Hebrew course? No, I'm in there's 84 lessons. I am somewhere in like the 60s, I think. So it's all starting to click together, and I'm enjoying it. So I see other people saying he never finished, got 1/3 of the way, and then moved to Israel. That's an easier way to be surrounded. But for those of us who are, not in Israel, here I added this little owl here. I thought that was fun. So I'm just kind of going through this, and the idea here is I have a little what is this? It's synced to not even the path. It's like the tree before they went to the path. So some of the lessons may be slightly out of order. You'll notice I highlight here, this is not intended as a standalone course. I strongly encourage anybody who wants to pick this up, use Duolingo Plus. I have a link in here where you can actually go buy it. I want to just be super duper clear here that I am not trying in any way to compete with Duolingo or to share, anything that I shouldn't be sharing of their, intellectual property or whatever else. So what this does have is an explanation of why I think Duolingo alone doesn't work and needs this kind of companion, and two, what is and is not in this. Yeah, Rhapsody in Lingo said, I remember that one person who transliterated every sentence, absolute hero. Absolutely. So this doesn't have all the sentences right now. It won't have all the sentences ever because I don't want it, again, to be a replacement. I want it to be something that you can use as a supplement. And I think what I've found is using this as I was building it has really accelerated my learning because I can look at all the vocabulary. I can see it. I can see it visually, transliteration. I can analyze it. I've added pictures to things. I mean, I'm having fun here. And then when I go to actually use Duolingo, I'm not encountering the word for the first time. I'm hearing it in context and it's reinforcing what I've already learned. And so then as I go through the path, I'm reinforcing with audio and a little degree of randomness here and there what I've already studied in terms of the vocabulary or the grammar. If you are trying to figure out the grammar on your own from Duolingo, and answer the sentence and memorize the words. It's too much stuff all at once, and it's really, really hard to lock it in, especially when you get to those lessons that have like 50 verbs. So the idea here is to kind of address that. And so I put in here, I mean, I'll just read this to you. The challenges with Duolingo: one, lack of transliteration, used to be addressed in comments, now it's removed. Two is insufficient audio. I'm thinking about taking audio that I put in here and doing, I'll give you an example. Let's see if I can pull this up. So this is a sentence from Duolingo. I was thinking about just doing this.
לה היה מקרה מיוחד מאוד.
And I'm almost certain that you guys can't hear that now. So let me see if I can do a little audio input capture. Little desktop audio. See if you can hear this.
לה היה מקרה מיוחד מאוד.
I don't know if you heard it. If you didn't, it doesn't really matter. The idea is that Google's transliterations are terrible, but their text to speech is actually now pretty good. So I was thinking, I might make an Anki deck using that audio, but that would be like a version 2 or an additional thing, like just here's a bunch of sentences, whatever I end up putting in here so you can hear it too. Can you make companions to other languages in the future? I was thinking about it. One that would work is Yiddish as well. The problem is Duolingo Hebrew benefits from benign neglect. They haven't updated anything since 2017. French, they're updating that like every week. So there's no way that I could build anything. And honestly, there's so many good resources for French and Spanish, and Italian and Portuguese that it's just not even worth putting in the effort. But for some of the languages that they don't do, especially if I'm interested in studying it, if you can convince me like, hey, you really need to study Czech or something, then like maybe. Okay, you can hear. Excellent. You all heard it. So that's this is sort of where I'm going. With the document here, I said there's idiosyncratic lesson formats. For those of you who haven't done a bunch of different languages on Duolingo, I said their French course might introduce 3 verbs in a given skill, all with the same conjugation paradigm, and spread across 5 lessons. So you'll learn, like, I remember one, I noticed this pattern. It was sortir, partir, dormir. That's to exit, to leave, and to sleep. And it was thematically related to staying in a hotel. And so it was like, the first lesson in the skill would be like, je sors, tu sors. That's it. Just I leave, you leave, informal. That's it. And you're just kind of practicing these and like, elle part, whatever. That's third person. The next one would be, first person plural. And then you'd have like third person and you have the formal. Like each of those lessons is a different sort of grammatical part of the paradigm. And you're really just getting your reps in with these words. So by the end of that lesson, sortir, partir, dormir, the pattern, you can use those words, all of the different pronouns that they'll go with. It's like really nice. And then you have vocabulary related to hotel, like, je sors, I don't know, de l'ascenseur, like I'm exiting the elevator. That might be descend, I don't know, whatever. The Hebrew course, right, they have 11 lessons in a skill. And it's like 50 verbs. You see them once, you don't get the full paradigm. It's like, it's overwhelming. So I'm going to keep talking about the problems and then how I solve them. There's insufficient repetition. They also changed the path so you don't get that spaced repetition anymore. So now the path in Hebrew is just like, if you're doing colors, it's like colors. And then what's next? Colors. And then what's next? A review of things that you made mistakes on. And then what's next? Colors. And then what's next? The review of colors. And then you move on to the next thing and you never see colors again. Not never, but like There's a lot of stuff that I've seen in this course that I just never see again. So even just being able to flip through to Le Daf Def, this document has been really, really helpful for me in just memorizing things. And I kind of want to share that. I see Leonard said we learned savoir, pouvoir, and vouloir at the same time in school. Exactly. Now, so that's most of it. What I say is what Duolingo gets right is the course content and the use of two native speakers who speak naturally at speed, as much as we may wish that they didn't. The natural speech in particular, like the woman does not pronounce any H's. Her aleph and ayin are the same. Like there's a lot of things that make it harder to understand, which means that when you're first hearing it, it's really hard to extract the words that you're supposed to be learning is a whole thing. So this kind of helps with that. But then when you know the words, you can hear how they're spoken naturally. Course is 84 skills, but I do make the point here that the same amount of content might be distributed over like 200 skills in Spanish. It's in part because Duolingo centralized their process later, and this is back when it was like the Wild West. It was just like contributors just building a course together. So just to really, before I get into editing this a little bit and showing you some of what I've done, the intended use is as a supplement, not a replacement. I cannot emphasize that enough. I really want to share. This is basically a cleaned up version of my notes, my study notes, so we can kind of study together. My recommendation is to also supplement with flashcards using spaced repetition, like Anki. There's pre-made Anki decks that I use, and I use Gabriel Weiner's sort of Fluent Forever technique. So I've added a bunch of mnemonics. I've added a bunch of images. So for instance, I can tell you right now, like Tiyul is like a trip, right? A vacation kind of trip. I have a picture of people. I searched for Tiyul in Hebrew. I'm gonna have an accent, everybody. Sorry. Search for Tiyul in Hebrew. Found a picture of people hiking in like the Galilee. Boom, that's my image. Flip side, when I get so it always says like, travel or whatever, and I get that image, and I have to come up with Tiyul. Flip side of the card has Tiyul, has the guy saying Tiyul, and what I added was literally a picture of a cup of tea and a chocolate Yule log, because I have my like phonetic mnemonics there. It's really stupid, but the fact that it comes to mind when I'm like, what's a mnemonic, shows you that it works. So I'm doing those. I'm not building those for you. You'll want to make your own. And then when I add all these example sentences, I'm going to be using a simplified glossing system, but every now and then I might use something like this, which is Leipzig glossing. So I have the Hebrew here. I have a transliteration here, Ha'ayon Shalat Tipshi, and then I have word for word with, ha is determiner, Ha'ayon is idea, shel is possessive, Shala is like, feminine, third person singular, and Tipshi is a derived adjective. I'm not going to do a whole lot of that ever, but it is a nice exercise, I think, to make things really clear. So let's see what I got. I have some useful resources here, and I'll have hyperlinks to these. So if you want an essential grammar of modern Hebrew, if you buy this document, there'll be a hyperlink to purchase it. It's, this is part of the editing that I need to do. And again, another disclaimer of like, this is not to replace Duolingo. Here's where you can go pay for the plus program in Duolingo, et cetera, et cetera. Again, this is built on the 84 fandom wiki articles. And so I've edited and corrected some of them. For instance, they teach the alphabet here. I have pronounced like the Dutch G rather than... they said pronounced like a German CH in ish, which is not correct. For some reason, people love saying, pronounced like the German CH, and that's just not how they pronounce it in most words. So I'm going to skip ahead to some fun stuff for those of you who are actually doing this. See, hyperlink boomer alert, man. I've also added emoticons. Yeah, I don't know. It's called a hyperlink, right? So I don't know. I have a couple of points here. So you notice like lesson 1, right? I have and this is the basic format. I have the word in Hebrew transliterated and then translated here. And I think I pretty quickly did away with all of the the quotes here, the single quotes, which is sort of Leipzig standard. So I'm going to do away with it here, and I'll finish editing the document so it's all as consistent as possible. There will undoubtedly be some inconsistencies here, but that's fine. Yeah, so I'll get to something a little bit more interesting. But notice I have ba'a with the stress on the final syllable. That's because in other contexts, ba'a is going to be a slightly different meaning. So I've tried to be as consistent as possible with italicization, but let's kind of skip ahead because I want to show you like some of what's fun here. And just these basic words are less fun to kind of get into. So you got basics, overview of pronouns, little chart here. Now this one I like. You can let me know what you think about this. I have color coded it so you see the things that repeat. So like third person, everything starts with an H. And you can see that immediately because it's color coded as sort of a gold color here. Everything that's not third person starts with an ah sound. I think it's really helpful to just see those like splits in the paradigm. Same thing. Everything that's second person has a T, like a t sound, like a tav. As Devil said, is this why you haven't streamed in a while? You've been making this kind of, yeah. The T's here, I think of like tu in Spanish or tu in French. It's not necessarily related, probably not related, but unless you're there's one crackpot theory that says like Hittite is related, but we're gonna leave that to the side. And then again like the N here, I put that in green because that works for me synesthetically, but like Hebrew anachnu, I think of like nu in French. So your mileage may vary, but I tried to make this as easy as possible to see some of the patterns that relate to help you kind of memorize things. I'll make sure that tables aren't split by the time I actually share this. But let's add a space here. Let's see. I have my yesh, right? Yeshli, yeshla. A little bit of an explanation here of grammar. And like I said, I sort of gently massaged some of the grammatical explanations that were already in the wiki. But here, for instance, like accusative case, I did a lot of editing and a lot of additions to try to make it as clear as possible, especially with discussion of et. I have a pronunciation note where I point out that in fast speech, people, instead of saying et ha, might say ta. And then you have all your vocabulary here. Later on, what I will do in version 2, and we can figure out, pricing that's fair for people. So if you support me in building version 1, then version 2 you don't have to pay double. But I want to figure out how to do that as a digital product on Patreon. But what I will do that I have not done yet is add sentences here. Now you notice, like I have vocabulary, I have zait, olive, and then I have plural, zaitim, right? That's you don't always get the plurals in Duolingo. So where they're not obvious, I try to include them here. I also have a note here about informal and stigmatized varieties. So like you learn kelev, that was in the list. I added kalba, klavim, klavot, and the informal stigmatized kalbot, which is by analogy with kalba. Formal use for tzav, tzabim, that's what you're going to hear in Duolingo. Does the guide mention the R sound? Yes, it does. And it's slightly different from the French R as well. Yeah. I said Patreon lets you sell posts. Patreon lets you sell digital products. So what I would do, like I said, is make it available on Patreon. And I'll share the link later. But like Arnav, Arnevit, these are the kind of things, especially when you're this early in the course, you're probably going to want to know. You learn noveach, right? The dog barks, but like you might not know already, linboach is the infinitive of that. And so I just added all of these things, and then I'm going to scroll down. I mean, you can see possessives. You can tell what parts I added where I talk about like there's no equivalent to the Saxon genitive. There's only the Norman genitive. I can't help myself. But I have all of this vocabulary. Got all your example sentences. You can see I'm just fixing little errors as I scroll through here. There will be errors in the final product, I'm certain. But like katan, katana, ktanim, ktanot, right? Have all that there. Gadol, gedola, gedolim, gedolot. Like these are things that you don't necessarily see all of them in Duolingo. You just get one or another, and it's really hard to figure out what the pattern is. So I try to make it so you can just figure out the pattern. If I continue, we have direct object, little helpful chart here. I've bolded the ones that are different, so it's easier to just remember. And then I want to get down to verbs here because this is where we get fun. Actually, clothing is fun too. For those of you wondering, let's see. Oh, I see. I got an offer in the chat to proofread it. I mean, yeah, I'll take it. Life pro tip: don't learn that the plural of egg is irregular the hard way. Oh no. I see sartan, not sarton. Oh, thank you. You know what? Let me. If you guys are correcting that, this is amazing. Like I said, this is. Whoa. What am I doing? Control F. Sarton. Where did you see that? Aha. Yeah, you know what? That looks like that's an autocorrect because it's capitalized too. So every now and then I had to fight the computer. And what was the other one? Kof, not kuf? Yeah, let's do that. There's some variation in the pronunciation too that that they have in Duolingo. And what I found is I suspect it was a handful of native speakers who put the wiki together. And so there's some things that where I'm like, okay, I don't know. That's different from what I saw in a textbook, but that's what's in it. So like I said, it's going to be some errors, but it's going to be so much easier. Rhapsody and Lingo said, oh yes, verbs. I remember having to figure them out on Payolim. I'm going to do a live stream just on Hebrew verbs at some point soon, because there's an underlying core pattern that is simple. And then you have all these phonological processes, which are regular processes that are predictable processes, but there's a bunch of them and they all interact. And so you get further and further away from that regular simple pattern. And the way that Duolingo introduces stuff is also just a lot of like irregular stuff, or a lot of the things that's not really irregular, but it has all of those phonological patterns applied, and so you can't actually figure out what the underlying pattern is because you don't see it enough. You probably see, when they introduce verbs, they introduce like 45 new verbs at the beginning and the pa'al conjugation, and I would say like 35 of them have some manner of seeming irregularity. Like only a handful of them are just straightforward regular verbs. So I use like liscor, lilmod, so it's like to close, to teach. I use those, or to learn, sorry. I use those as my like hook where they just don't have any weird exceptions. But you're not going to intuit liftoach from understanding that pattern. And you're definitely not going to intuit that pattern from learning something like liftoach and then trying to see like, well, how do you get liscor from there? So I have a picture of, anybody want to leave me in the chat who this is? Anybody recognize this? A very famous person. I'm waiting for a comment here, I know. I'm on a bit of a delay. And why might he be here in the clothing section that I put here? There will not be any sort of bonus. Yeah, Silly Cowboy says Rambam. That's Rabbi Musa ibn Maimon, a.k.a. Moshe ben Maimon, a.k.a. Maimonides, a.k.a. the Rambam. Zevel said, yo guys, whoever's learning Hebrew and is not a native speaker, how hard is it to produce the BG sound? It is very hard, Zevel. Thank you for asking. It is the hardest. Like, Gadim is like, I feel like I'm like, I don't know, burping or something. It's very difficult. So the reason I put this is I know that a lot of people just use lasim for like everything, for bracelets, for hats, for shoes, for whatever. Duolingo teaches you all the technically correct words. So like you lin ol, your na'alaim, you shoe your shoes, you I don't know, le'arkiv mishkafaim, you construct your sunglasses, and you lachbosh a hat, you lachbosh your kova. And the thing that I find super cool about this is that this is what hats used to be. And so lachbosh is the same as like to wrap a bandage, which is why chovesh is an EMT, an emergency medical technician. It's all related to wrapping. And so why do you wrap a hat? Well, because this is what hats used to be. I think it's super cool. So I have a lot of fun. And so you can say it begadim with the e being partially pronounced. I know, but I like begadim. Your mileage may vary on this, but I find Hebrew to be particularly fun because it's a little bit like Klingon. So like I like the words like black in the feminine, like shchora, where it's just like that's a lot of sounds that are hard to pronounce together, and they're just smushed together in a way that we can't do in English. So those words like ptach, I like them, as in like ptach libi mitzvotecha. Oh, I can't speak Hebrew anymore. I'm so excited. So I have in here, like, for instance, mishkafe shemesh. I tell you it's the construct plural. Kfafa. I've already related, I think, kaf and kapit and the palm of your hand and everything there. I was super curious about tabat because it looks weird compared to everything else. It's like, this doesn't look like Hebrew. And indeed, it's borrowed from ancient Egyptian. So I just put that in here with some pictures. I will tell you that the like the rest of this doesn't have a lot of this stuff, but I have the occasional picture and the occasional example, and so on. And so here you go. I have like this is what it might be like for some of the rest, like Hayalda loveshet simla. These are straight from Duolingo. The problem is if you're trying to learn like simla, then just like she has a simla, that's not really helpful. I think Ayalda loveshet simla is not even a Duolingo sentence. I'm pretty sure what they have is like yesh la simla. It's like you could say that for literally any noun. It does not help. That's like not even remotely helpful for learning a thing. En lo chagora, that's like, again, he doesn't have a great. This is easy ways of constructing sentences, but not useful for pedagogy. But this might be, this is where I kind of started, and I might have like 5-10 of these per lesson, maybe 20. And the idea is just that it gives you a little bit more to kind of review. What did I say? Zevel, I'm Ayel. Did I have a typo there? Oh, yeah. Thank you. It was underlined and everything. Man, Word knows how to conjugate. Word knows how to spell in Hebrew. So I have a huge example, a huge explanation here of Pa'al verbs. I will not go over it right now because that should be its own live stream probably. And then what was cool about the wiki, in which I'm keeping here, so I have a preview of the rest of the verbal system. I added all that. What I'm keeping here is links to Pe'alim. So you click it and you get the link to Pe'alim. So lichtov, and then I have kotev, the the present tense that you would learn in this lesson. And I just want to point out, like lesson 1, you have lichtov, lischot, lishmoa, lishon, lagat, lomar. I don't think any of those are like the basic form of a verb. Each of them has something. So like, anikotev, I'm writing something. The ka becomes cha after a vowel at the beginning here. Lischot, you have the sort of ot, a, eat kind of thing going on across different tenses. Lishmoa, you have the ein, which changes the vowel. Lishon is just weird. Lagat is not what you would think it would be, and I'm led to believe some people actually say lingoa. And then lomar, like again, unusual. La'asot, unusual. La'avod, the ein lowers the vowel. Limtso, you have the aleph at the end, so it's kind of weird for us learning it. Litmoch, you have the chaf at the end. Lakachat, irregular. Ladat, irregular. So we're at like 10 verbs, and you haven't learned the basic pattern. You've learned common verbs, but not the basic pattern. They all violate it in some way. Latate, irregular. Liknot has that final hey thing going on. Limkor has mocher, so you have the phonological thing going on there. Lirshom, that's literally the first verb that you get to that just follows the pattern. Okay? So I have an explanation of the pattern in the document above all this, but like lishom, liskor, those are what I would think of as like basic normal verbs that follow the pattern that are easy to learn. So, and then you get liftoach, lichov, like immediately you get into like stuff that violates the pattern in one way or another. Lachshov, lachzor, likro. Look at how many verbs they teach in this lesson, by the way. Like, this is an insane number of verbs to give you, like, here you go, a little skill. Like, just do 11 of these and then remember them all for tomorrow, right, to review. Likro, lishmor, lilmod, that one's sort of regular. Lishmor is kind of regular. So yeah, this I give an explanation. You can also skip to like different chapters here where you see the future, where you see the past. You can look at Pealim, but I have explanations of the future and the past and all the conjugations as well. So I basically, I was like, what would be the most useful thing for me if I was starting over? What would be the most useful thing for my friends and family who are learning and who don't have the degree in linguistics and who just want to learn? So, that's what I tried to make this into. And so you see, I explain up here, a few pages of explanation of what's going on here. So this is the pa'al, this is the traditional explanation, that you have a vowel kind of template that the roots fit into. So you have 3 roots like ra, sha, ma, and you put them into a vowel template, and that makes a word. That tells you like the tense and the aspect and the mood and the number and all that stuff. The conjugation for the present is fairly simple. And then I give a little preview. I talk about, what the template looks like. I talk about prepositions, which are not explained, obligatory prepositions are not explained in Duolingo. This is straight from the wiki where they talk about ladat versus leakir, to know biblically versus to know. And say pro tip says, say l'sayam and not ligmor. Ask another Hebrew speaker why. I will. I kind of preview the future and everything else, and then I talk about the phonology. So like the sounds do this, the sounds do that, the sounds make it do this. Like, beit and kaf and pei are soft after vowels, but hard, that is pronounced as a stop when not immediately preceded by a vowel, hence lichlol, to include, but kolel, includes. I talk about the aleph and ayin. Like, I really tried to make this as useful as possible, as much information as possible, but not overwhelming. Same thing with the colors. And, we start getting into some more interesting stuff as you continue. Now, for those of you who have not continued the Hebrew course in Duolingo past a certain point, it gets really interesting. And that was part of why I wanted to do this, because it has a ton of vocabulary. I mean, you saw that was like 50 verbs, a ton of vocabulary, and a ton of like really cool, interesting vocabulary that you don't see anywhere else. So they just dump it all on you, and then you have to memorize it. But hopefully this helps with that. So let's see. I got my what is this? Verbs, right? Unit 26, verbs, present 2, 26 skill, assuming read left to right down the tree, back when there was a tree. And I talk about PL verbs and how they work. They're a lot easier. If it were up to me, I would just start with that. I see platotle, asked platotle. Is that a yarmulke? Yeah, yarmulke, kippah, kova. Ani chovesh kippah right now. So anyway, if I were going to start with teaching verbs, I might start with hifil or with PL or with some other conjugation paradigm and leave pa'al for last. But you kind of just can't do that because there's so many. Like, the pa'al is the basic, and that's why it's so weird, because it's the basic things get weird in languages. But there's just so many. But to understand just the system, if I was teaching like a linguistics class, I would start with other binyanim and then come back to this. You notice I put here lesamen, to signal, indicate, or mark. And I have my little thing here related to siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Root ultimately comes from a Greek borrowing, semeion. So I just have fun facts here. You don't have to remember that. I find it makes it easier for me to remember the words, and I find that stuff interesting, so I put it in the document. I added, for instance, levaker. To critique or criticize is mevaker et plus noun. To visit is mevaker al plus noun. Somebody can correct me if that's wrong. And somebody's got to tell me to. Oh, I get it. So the discussion in the chat about ligmor. I get where you're going with this. It's a sex thing. It's Rule 34, isn't it? Somebody tell me how to say Rule 34 in Hebrew. That's got to be like shloshim ve'arba, right? I just don't know how to say rule. Okay, so somebody said, why would you start with Hefil? I would start with Hefil because it's very, very, very regular. So actually, let's just go down to wherever they teach that. And just hold while I get there, but I will explain that in a second. So I have here, by the way, this is the kind of stuff I'm doing. Like lefached is to be afraid. So I have somebody can say where this is. Well, I have it right here where it's from. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzameod ve'ayika lo lefached klal. Like the whole world is a very narrow bridge. The main thing is not to fear at all. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, and I have what a very narrow bridge looks like in that context. That's how I memorized lefached. Like that's how I learned it. I learned it with a song. I have links to things. I have links to songs. I have links to videos. I really tried to make this as much useful stuff as possible. And I'm still going back through things that I ostensibly learned months ago and saying, oh, I didn't know about this. I have the rega hand gesture here. I have Ledor Vador triggered sharing two different versions of Vehishe Amda, which has Bechol Dor Vador Amdim Aleinu L'Chalotenu. This is, I'm, can you tell that I'm like torn between modern pronunciation and like an Ashkenazi pronunciation here? So I just split the difference and it sounds terrible to everybody. But let's continue because I said I would explain why I would start with Hefil. And so let me find Hefil. And I will tell you, what I did right now is I have transliteration and explanation of everything, all 84 lessons. What I don't have is a whole lot of example sentences right now because, 84 lessons of this stuff basically came close to killing me. I will continue and do that, but I want to share this for those who are interested in it in its current state. And then, that'll probably be later this week. And then share with more stuff later on. Okay, so what do we have? We have infinitives. You already learned those if you did it the way that I have shared. And then we're going to go to whether, just look at the amount of vocabulary here. This is wild. Yeah, lechalosein. Let's see. You're having discussion in the chat that's becoming sort of philosophical, religious discussion of different kinds of fear and awe, which I don't get into a lot of that stuff in here. This is really just learning modern Hebrew. All right, verbs, present three. This is hif'il verbs. And I mentioned that this binyan is extremely regular. So let's take leaskim, which is, I don't know, who knows what that means? Nobody knows. What is that, like to agree? Don't start me lying. Yeah, leaspir is to explain, right? So leaskim is to like agree, agreement, whatever. See, Gavros 23 says, in religious context, there's often a more spiritual reason for the difference. Yeah, there's all sorts of things within a religious context where it's almost like jargon, where it's like it doesn't mean that in day-to-day life, but within a religious context, like different kinds of knowledge, like de'ah and binah, haskel, that kind of stuff is very, very precise. In modern, secular Israeli Hebrew, it's less precise like that. I see. Okay, good. I didn't miss any messages from Chaim Sheli. So let's take maskim. I could actually just go to Pealim. Let's just write this here. Super easy. I totally cheat. Or we could go to Wiktionary. I don't really care. Let's do that. And the reason that I say that I would start with something like this is, let's go to, they say he schemed, so they use the past third person. If you look at this chart, if you all can see it, maybe I'll blow it up a little bit. For those of you who can read this, the key takeaway that I have here is that everything, almost everything, not quite, but like 90% of the things have scheme, right? They have the three letters of the root, and they have a long E in between. So you end up with, oh, it doesn't want to let me, can I, no. Okay, super annoying. You end up with, well, I'll show you here. You end up with these three letters. If you can see that, you should be able to. That is, and we talk about this like template morphology where the vowels fit in, and the linguists call it interdigitating, and they always do this when they teach interdigitating, which, you know, seems a little, but what's actually happening here is like, and I'm writing a paper on this actually right now. I don't think for a lot of the Binyanim you need that templatic morphology. Yes, it's a Semitic language. Yes, Semitic languages are known for templatic morphology. Yes, you need that for other parts of the language. But some of the verbs you can completely describe without templatic morphology, with just regular old concatenative morphology, where you just stick things on the beginning and the end of the word and some phonological changes that triggers. So it's very, very simple in this regard. So for instance, you have the infinitive is lehaskim. All the infinitives are like lamed he. I write it leha, leha, right? People don't always say the h, whatever, it's fine. So leha is the prefix, scheme is the stem. In the present, instead of leha, you have maskim. And then, you know, various suffixes. So maskima, maskimim, maskimot. In the future, you still have scheme. So you have, what is it, like askim, naskim, taskim, yaskim. Like, it's very, very, very straightforward. It's just prefixes. And then the occasional suffix for plural or feminine, but like they do very predictable things. And then in the past, everybody's like, oh, it's different. It's got different vowels because it's, you know, hiskamti. But in reality, you have the little prefix. You have the he prefix. The I think of it as like hi, but you know, it's a hey. And then you have suffixes. The suffixes are related to the pronouns. So ani, anachnu, like you have the nu from anachnu. You have the ta from ata. You have the ta from at, and so on and so on and so on. And for a whole bunch of reasons throughout the entire system, other people have already argued that what happens is when you have a suffix that has a consonant in it, right? So it's a phonological rule. It's not a templatic thing. When you have a suffix that has a consonant in it, that triggers the nearest vowel to turn to a. So you see this in PL verbs. You see this in he-feel verbs. So if I'm thinking of my stem as scheme, and then I have a prefix, the past tense prefix is he. So then I know it's past tense. So he scheme, right? And then I add my suffix for who did the agreeing, right? So I agreed. I add my T at the end, and I have he schemed T, but that's not what actually happens because there's a phonological rule, not a templatic morphological rule. There's a phonological rule where, like morphophonological rule, where the suffix triggers a vowel change. He schemed T, right? That is so much easier to just remember. Okay, I can say what the stem is for all of these words. It's just scheme, right? I remember scheme, and then my mnemonic is actually like I agreed to your scheme, right? That's like I agreed. He had a scheme. I agreed with it. Something like that. It's so much easier than all of the phonological changes that happen with pa'al verbs. And pa'al verbs, I don't know that I can reduce those to just sort of a phonological rule. But all the other binyanim, I can. And I mean, that's a paper that I'm writing right now. I think I know where I'm going to submit it for academic publication. But the general idea is like, you don't actually need templatic morphology for like 90% of the verbal system, which is a very contentious position to take. So it should be an exciting paper to publish. Okay, I'm just checking the chat here because I rambled a lot about specifics of phonology, which sometimes loses people, understandably. And so, anyway, here you have all these things: leatril, leatzliach, leatzliach. I'm sorry, leaskim, leodot, tov, leodot. I'm just going to be dropping all these references. Leasbir, whence hasbara. And so on and so on and so on. And so I just want to take the last few minutes that I'm going to be on here and kind of skip ahead to some of the fun stuff because I'm somewhere in the course in like the 40s or 50s. You'll notice I try to, once you've learned some stuff, I try to like relate things. So like chufsha is vacation from the roots that relate to free. L'tayel is related to trip that you've learned already. Ratzif, a platform. I say compare against ritzpa, the floor. And so I'm trying to make this as useful as possible, make as many connections as possible, and make it as fun as possible. One of the main things that I notice is like all these TKN kind of roots, so like Tichon, Mizrach Tichon, right, the Middle East, but also like Tochen is content, and what do you have? Matkon is a recipe, right? Like the things that go in it, right? Is a noun derived from these roots versus I don't know. We learn like matrichim or something like for like ingredients, like the things that you need. So just trying to like link these roots. And somebody said a platform. Somebody said, can I give an example to when pa'al isn't regular? And I would say it's easier to give an example where it is regular and well behaved because there's so few of them. If I give an example of where it's not regular, that's like most verbs. So what I think of as regular is 3 consonants of the root that don't undergo any phonological changes. So like, kaf to chaf or like something like that. None of those. That don't trigger any vowel changes. So ayin at the beginning, like lasot, instead of like, it's not lis, whatever. It's lasot. And that don't have any other things like like a final hey where it becomes la asot instead of like la se. So theoretically, if that was like regular, it should be like li se, which is obviously like unpronounceable and weird. But what I think of as like regular would be like lilmod, liskor, lirshom. You could make an argument for things like likro, but the aleph it gets kind of weird because it's sometimes silent, sometimes a glottal stop. So the idea there is like that there's not a lot there. And that's part of the problem is because if you want to learn all verbs and be able to conjugate them, I think it's incredibly helpful to understand the underlying system, but the underlying system is kind of rare, right? So this is the kind of thing that I would give if I were teaching intro to phonology at a graduate level. I would give these 50 verbs, the all verbs from Duolingo Hebrew, and be like, what's the underlying system? And which of these, and what are the phonological rules, and in what order do those rules apply, right? And that would be like a midterm, right? That would be a final. And the thing is, I don't think you should have to be able to correctly answer a final exam in graduate level phonology to like use Duolingo effectively. So I'm trying to just lay it out for people and make it as simple as possible. All right, let's scroll down to some of the fun stuff because, at a certain point you get all to the past. The past tense is great. It is just, as one of my former professors would have said, bunging the pronoun onto the end of the word. So all the endings are related to the pronouns in a very transparent way. That's pretty helpful. And in fact, that is, of course, where they come from. Historically, it was pronouns way, way back in the ancient past. So I have things here like, for instance, past asa, and then I have asiti, asta, like the things that gave me trouble. Um, but asa, asinu, asiti, like you should be able to kind of see that pattern, and you have Paolim as well to refer to by the time you get here. Paolim.com, that is. I got my comparisons, got my objects. This is where it started getting interesting to me, where it's like, just stuff, right? Like umbrellas and mugs and pans and pieces of things and chains and all that stuff. Present reflexive got really fun. I talk a little bit about what this actually is grammatically, because it's sort of reflexive, it's sort of inchoative, it's sort of unaccusative kind of thing. And of course, with lihistovev, I could not resist talking about the root being related to sev, vivon, sov, and so on. So lots and lots and lots of stuff in this document. Some of the stuff like Mishalo, Mishala, you see once in Duolingo and like never again. Shayach is like belonging to somebody. You see that like once in Duolingo and never again. So, the goal is to be able to refer back to a document that, helps. I have here like chad, sharp, but like figuratively incisive. Muzar, my comment here is that it's delightfully close to bizarre. And you'll notice, like, I talked about having to fight word, shavui, instead of shavui. Gahua. I noticed like marshim, right? Impressive, but I think of that as notable because it has the same roots as like rishima and so on. So I just try to make this as useful as possible, right? Mashber, crisis, related to shover, lishbor. I see, do I have to read in Cyrillic to answer your question? Sorry if you've answered this already, but will you be sharing this supplement somewhere? Yes, I will. I will be making, first I'll make it available. I'll have a link in the description of the live stream once it's live. I'll tell everybody when it's live as well, and I'm going to share this on my Patreon as a free gift when you buy me a bag of coffee beans. I'm thinking like $18. That's it makes sense to me. This was hours and hours and hours and hours of work, as I'm sure it is clear. So at first I was like, how hard would this be? And then 40 hours later, I'm editing this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing it. I have all the infinitives. I mean, this is, I should probably do a table of contents. That would be too much like the right thing to do. But let's skip ahead. Let's skip to, past where I am. You have some good stuff here. Emergency is very different from any lessons that I've seen in other Duolingo courses. And unfortunately, it's pretty clear why you would need all these words. Yeah, you have the future here, and I have a whole chart, explanation, and I'll kind of skim through the rest of this, and then we'll talk for a moment. Passive, which is not really passive, and I kind of explained the grammar there. I think this is about where I am in the course, actually. It's like meshune, mudag, mutam, reflexive pronouns. This is actually exactly where I am in the course. So I'm on unit 53. I got about 30 lessons to go, but that does not stop me from continuing through. And I did all the definitions and everything for nature, right? That's fun. For outer space, like they have all sorts of cool stuff here. Decisions, right? This is expressing decisions and discussions and arguments and so on. They got imperatives. They got past actions that just is more of the stuff that you've already seen. Nifal in the past. With some new vocabulary too. So like nichshal is failed. And I'm like, hey, that's related to like kishalon, a failure. So I leave you a little note there. By unit 60, you can talk about your feelings, right? As well as, kissing and hugging and all that good stuff. Gross. Doche. I have, the reflexive and the not reflexive versions of these things in here. Geometry. I did not know until I was going for this that that this was going to be like something that I'd be super excited by. But geometry in Hebrew is fantastic. Abstract objects, right? Kivun, orientation. And then let's see, I got more verbs. Like this course is, like you can see, the content is fantastic. Construct state 2. This is a very weird lesson because you have, try to remember, like, I brainwashed his bodyguard and the bookworm wore a seatbelt. But like, it's good stuff. It's good vocabulary. You got the conditional, right? If I were a rich man, I'd biddy bum all day. You can say that by the time you're done with this. And medical stuff. This is really just body parts. So it's really nice to actually see what you're going to learn in advance. And some of the stuff I'm like, okay, virus, easy, right? I don't need to spend a lot of time on that. Gulgolet is actually kind of easy because it's related to like rolling. But some of these other ones, I'm like, I need to see that in advance instead of trying to learn it while I'm doing Duolingo. So this is just the whole thing. And once you skip like to the end, you have like all sorts of things related to Israel. You have the arts. So I should be able to talk about YouTube eventually. You have negative imperative. That's super easy. Technology, right? Didn't know how much I needed this. Basis natonim, database. I didn't know how much I needed that. Def defan is one of my favorite words because it's related to like a daf, like a page, like a single both-sided page. Midaf def is to like flip through a book, and def defan is a browser. You got diminutives, you got verbal nouns, it's got everything. So I'm really, really excited about this. The music lesson looks really good. The science, sports, like politics. Let me add a space here. And you'll notice that we're like, I don't know, 176 pages in without all the example sentences. So it's a lot of stuff. And I'm excited to actually memorize the rest of this. But like, come on, prince, princess, sword, palace, king, queen, legends, wizards, magicians, what is it? Mechashef, right? Mechashef, wizard. Mechashefa, a witch. I, of course, added the golem here. So if you don't know about the golem, then as you learn golem, you can go elsewhere and learn about the golem of Prague. But this is like, I'm gonna be able to talk about vampires soon. Very excited. And of course, I think besides geometry and formal speech like this, the main thing that I'm super excited for towards the end, not business, was where did it go? Space. The final frontier. I'm so excited about this. Right? Like I am unreasonably excited about this lesson. So, and then the last one is festivals and Israel. What I love about the very last lesson is it was like, well, these are words that don't translate. So like matkot, you just have to learn what matkot is. It's not a thing. So let's see. Simania. Simania. Where's the stress on that, Gavers, for bookmark? Because I need that immediately. Kosem for magician. Yeah, this is good stuff. Wait, who said not def defan? Daf defan. Did I say def? Or did I write it? I can see there's some errors in here. What is it? Not def defan, daf. That's what I thought. Okay. I thought that looked weird. But daf defan? Yeah. Matkot. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. In Harry Potter, they say kosem and machshefa, but that's been a while. Okay. Snow says you love the space unit. So somebody's actually basically finished Duolingo. Good for you. I'm getting there. Siman ya on the last syllable. Okay. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I haven't live streamed in a while is because I wanted to kind of keep this hush hush for a little while. I wanted to figure out what I was going to do with it. But I am going to make this. I'm going to clean it up. That might take a little while. It might be after Passover, so mid-April, that I actually get this in a shape where I feel comfortable sharing it with people. But I'm very excited about it. I've shared it with close family and friends already, and it seems to be something that's really useful, that has dramatically improved the speed with which they're learning and retaining things, and able to use them. And I think it's a really good thing. I mean, there's not a lot of good resources out there. This is not by any means perfect, but I think if you are going to use Duolingo, it takes the strengths of Duolingo and it complements them so you can get the most out of those strengths. So I was thinking, and you all can tell me what you think. For those of you who are interested in this, I was thinking $18 to buy a bag of coffee beans so I can keep making things like this, and then I share it as a free gift. And again, encourage you to use Duolingo, continue to use Duolingo, pay Duolingo, or sit through their ads and don't make a lot of mistakes. And this is all stuff that's sort of out there in the world, and available. Not a replacement for the course, but it does, I think, really supercharge your use of the course. And that means that you can just do more stuff later. It doesn't mean like less time on Duolingo and therefore you cancel your Plus subscription. It just means you can go learn French next, or Italian, or whatever else it is. I see prescriptivism sucks. I see, yeah, Haish Khalim. That was the idea, right? It said 18 would be too much, but I also don't care that much either way. So yeah, I don't know. There's so many other books translated into Hebrew other than Harry Potter. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. And then eventually, we'll all get it together and be speaking faster, clearer, better. What is this? You might want to avoid 15 or 20. Round numbers, good. Oh, boo. Okay. Yeah, I could do. Okay. This is actually helpful for me to hear how people react to sort of pricing, because I do want to recoup some of the many hours that I that I spent on this. I also want to make it available to people to be something useful. But yeah, Zavel said you started learning Brazilian Portuguese. Obrigado. No, that's thank you. It's the thing that you don't want in your shampoo. Parabéns. Parabéns. See, modern Hebrew. Yeah, there is some discussion here about the prescriptive Hebrew sort of academy versus what people actually say on the street, and I think that's something that Duolingo tends to follow the sort of prescriptive way of doing things for the most part. And then when you go talk to people, you got to learn how people actually speak. But that's what things like iTalki are for if you're not, traveling. All right, I see lots of discussion of Hebrew books. And what I want is what's available in the library that has audio as well. I recently checked out a book of poetry by Leah Goldberg, which was fantastic. It's for kids, but really, really interesting. I see discussion of Mistborn. I have seen so much discussion of Mistborn, and I have no idea what it is, but I'm gonna have to look it up at a certain point. Snow said, "Can you save the live, please?" Yes, I will save it. I will make it available. I'll probably slap a mid-roll ad somewhere on it, and I might cut off the beginning like 15 minutes of like, "Can you hear me?" But yeah, I will definitely make this available later. And again, the document itself will be available later because this is, you're not going to get a whole lot out of the live stream, but hopefully you will get a whole lot out of this document. So let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to stop drinking coffee because it's late enough in the day and I've had enough. And I see Mistborn is a great series, highly recommend. The moment I have leisure time, I know many of you know that I have a toddler at home. Between that and like I said, having to file police reports and FBI reports and all that about like unwanted, ridiculous attention from, we'll say, uh, people who are very politically engaged and civic minded, but perhaps don't have a healthy model for how to engage politically or emotionally. Um, got a lot of attention from them and had to be doing a lot of like making sure that everything is secure, that our that the police and the FBI know who these people are and all that stuff. So it's just a lot of extra stuff. Um, Audiobook, that's where it's at. Yeah, I've been listening to Persian Fire, the Tom Holland talking about the Greeks and the Persians. And once I finish that, I'll check out Mistborn. Silly Catboy, that's not who I'm talking about. In fact, that's the issue, is that it's not the big figureheads. It is just concerned citizens who take it upon themselves to do who knows what. So graphic audio version, if you're going audiobook, sounds amazing. And more live streams will be on the way. I will say that that our sort of family schedule will be changing soon, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to fit live streams in, but I think it can be done. And it's changing for good reasons. So we're pretty excited and happy about all of that. But fitting in podcasts and trying to keep up with releasing videos, which I didn't release one last week, is a lot. So I'm going to try to keep the live streams going. They've been actually a whole lot of fun, and also weirdly good for the channel. Even though for those of you who know YouTube, you make like zero money on a live stream, but it seems to like, I don't know what it does. It does some magic for the channel where like the videos get seen by more people. I have no idea, but it is. I guess what I'm trying to say is it is in fact worth my time to do the live streams, because right now it's just like I have to look at the calendar and look at the days and the hours and be like, what am I doing with the limited time that I have, and what is getting cut that I want to do but can't do. Zella says, have I tried Brazilian Portuguese? Brazilian Portuguese teaches. I don't know. I like Brazilian Portuguese. I don't know what you're talking about on Spotify, but I just listen to it. Gavras, I always see your uploads on Motzei Shabbos. It's always funny reminding yourself I'm EST and not uploading on Shabbos. Although, we were talking about this yesterday. There's a minority opinion that you can't like set a timer, but the most people hold that you can set a timer, which means if I set it, like I could set it on Wednesday and I could set it to upload. If I find that noon on Saturday is the ideal time to upload, once it's uploaded, I've already uploaded it. Once it's uploaded and I set I schedule a release, that's a process that's happening without me, just the same as your Shabbos lights, just the same as your your coffee maker or whatever else. But yeah, I try to avoid that anyway. I see Tom says, yep, it boosts you in the algorithm. I noticed that. I noticed like it I don't know why, but it does. And I see you used to manage a YouTube channel with a medium audience. If I want to chat about running one, I'm available. Please email me, thelanguagejones@gmail.com. I would love to talk because I got to do it. Also, I should join the We Create Edu edu.edu community. I'll check that out. Yeah, the scheduling uploads. I take my my day of rest very seriously. I religiously rest. So yeah. All right. With that, I am gonna go. Probably keep editing this document and try to get it ready for release. I'm gonna take into account what all of you said about pricing and what all you said about live streams, and try to live stream a little bit more in the coming months. So it says now would be a good time to insert ads. I'll do it later. I'll do it on the replay. We create edu, no dot. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. All right, thank you all. I missed this. I know I didn't answer a question about Persian. I still love Persian. I want to go back to it. It's like worse than Hebrew in terms of like learning resources, and so it's a struggle. I may have to make something like this for that. And where can we get the lessons? It will be on my Patreon, and I will make sure to say that once it's released, once it's ready, I will make sure to say that and have links in the descriptions of like everything for like a month and a half. I'm going to make sure that everybody knows that it exists and where you can find it. It is not available yet because I'm still finishing the editing, but I wanted to kind of share what I'm working on. And so I will make sure that it is available. It'll be on my Patreon. All right, with that, thank you all. And especially thank you all who tolerated the first few minutes of this and helped me with the audio, because that was, it's always just super tedious. But I'm getting, one step better each time. And eventually I won't live stream like a boomer. But until then, thank you for your patience. All right. With that, thank you all. And I'm going to end the stream. And oh no, Incognito just got here. Oh no. Okay, Incognito, here's what you missed. It happened again. Here's what you missed. 15 minutes of me just futzing around with the audio and getting a bunch of help in the chat, trying to figure it out and finally getting it right. And then I talked about this document, which is about a 200-page document that I'm going to be making available on my Patreon soon. It's not available yet. And it has basically everything that you could possibly want for learning Hebrew using Duolingo. It is a supplement, not a replacement. It has all the vocabulary. Later on, I'm going to be adding example sentences and audio and so on. That's what we talked about. So I see good luck with Doge. Thank you. All right. And marking stress in the supplement will be useful. I try to mark stress wherever it's unusual, but everywhere else it's just sort of assumed. All right. Thank you all. I should definitely have a native speaker intellectualize. You're right. I should definitely have a native speaker go over it. So anybody who volunteers, email me at thelanguagejones@gmail.com. I think I already got an email. So I will absolutely take you up on that. But yeah, proofreading would be very helpful because, you could probably flip through a 200-page document like this pretty quickly because it's just a list. But it's going to take me a long time to find all the errors. So thank you all. And yeah, Tal says marking stress, use caps lock. I like to just bold it in this document. That's what I did for the most part. Tal, thank you. I got your email. I will be responding. All right. So with that, I'm actually going to come back to my full screen, say thank you all. Good luck with Doge is such a 2025 sentence. My real work up until January was all consulting with the federal government, so it's been a time. Anyway, thank you all. You'll probably see a lot more of me on live stream, hopefully, and talk to you soon. For those of you who observe it, this is a little bit early, but Chag Sameach, and have an easy time with all the cleaning and the fasting first. Talk to you all soon, hopefully. Thanks again. I'm like, I love you all. All right, love you. Bye. Jordan just joined. Sorry.